Apalta is part of the Colchagua Valley. In 2018, it was recognized as a specific appellation because it has characteristics that makes it special, as you mentioned. And the climate here is moderate Mediterranean with a long dry season. That means that we don't have rain usually from late spring until mid-April. Therefore, all this vineyard, which is dry, is irrigated only with the winter rains. We are currently in a full-swing rainy period. It rains here depending on the year between 350, which is a year that is considered quite dry, up to about 620 millimeters, which is considered one very wet year. Due to these hills, Apalta has a very unique geography. It is a projection of the transverse mountain corridors of the coastal range. We are already looking south. This horseshoe faces south. That's why we have this sclerophyll forest. What we see here is green because we are on the cold side of these mountains.
This vineyard in particular is over 100 years old. The roots are quite deep, well prepared to endure lack of water. But what about the new ones?
Well, obviously you have to water. We have around 30 hectares of dry land with these characteristics, and the rest of the surrounding countryside, 210 hectares planted, are with technical irrigation. We have 16 series of soils, all of colluvial origin, except a little at the bottom close to the Tinguiririca River, which is the river that cuts the valley, which is alluvial, very old, but in general they are cornerstones, which pass from a very decomposed granite, with very little organic matter in some sectors of the slopes. And here, in particular, with the water layer that raises in winter, which is what happens to us now, and in summer it goes down. There is no hard layer underneath. The roots can explore quite deeply. That's why they are able to spend the season in good shape. And well, in the slopes we have this soil as a sandwich, really, because they are granites with different compositions, with more or less quartz, with some basalt. There is also already much more clay, and back at the top there is granite. It is this clay layer caught between two granite enclosures that makes the hill to provide a very dynamic growth for the roots, very different to what is here in the plain.
That cloud underground really holds water well.
Holds water quite well, and it is a great help for the end of the season. Well, this Cabernet has been planted, according to records, around 1907. This particular plot. We have others that were planted around 1950. And well, they are vineyards that must have arrived here in the valley when this was 2 states. And there are plenty of these small vineyards that still survive in Apalta. That is another of the wonders of this valley, and they are variety vineyards, mainly Cabernet, Carmenere, and there is some Malbec and Cabernet Franc in Apalta as well. Here in Clos, our oldest vineyards are of Cabernet and Carmenere, which are the basis of the Clos Apalta wines. We manage the vine to promote a good vitality in the vineyard. We use compost, we care to keep the ground covered, we worry about a reasonably pruning to restrain yields. We keep yields between 4 to 6 tons per hectare. Just asking the vineyard for what she can give us naturally. Intervening little, but enough to help her reach the maturity that we need in April, when we usually harvest.
You follow the principles of biodynamics.
We follow the principles of biodynamics, but we adapt it to our productive reality. We love a holistic management. We put animals in the vineyard. I think that biodiversity, the effect of the native forest, is an integral part of the vineyard, and that is why these branches continue so well after so many years with us.
About the grapes, you have already mentioned them before. Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet, Merlot, and some more. These are what you use for Clos Apalta and Petit Clos, right?
That's right, a Bordeaux blend with a Carmenere base that makes it so special. Because Carmenere of this level there's only a little in the world, and of this age. And it also has Merlot, Cabernet, also very old, and some years some Petit Verdot also enters the blend.
So, let's say, surely right now Chile is understood as Cabernet, Merlot, the classic Bordeaux blend. Here you have it represented as the oldest in America.
Yes, but this is a blend more like Carmenere Merlot than Cabernet Merlot.
Andrea, we are in the cellar, and we are in the area where part of the harvest is fermented, directly in these barrels. Can you explain to me how the process goes?
Well, here we receive our harvest 100% manual in baskets, and we have 364 barriques for fermentation in this room. They are initially open, and we fill them only with berries. We close them again, and we place them in these supports that allow us to rotate them. This is a process which is called integral winemaking. It's a fermentation at low temperature, around 24 degrees for quite some time, and a maceration of 4 to 6 weeks more or less. After that, we take the young wine out. We take also the grapes and press, and we use the same barriques to store the wine back in. This is what you are seeing here today. The wines are now finishing the malolactic conversion.
That's why it's warm here.
That's correct.
Hello, Andrea, how are you?
Hello.
We're apart because I want this to be seen well. This beautiful cellar that you have here, which is part of the fermentation in foeders, for the other process that you use to make your wine, right?
Right. We use stainless steel vats to bring the grape here without pumps, and they fall into the highest part of these vats by gravity. And then the wine-making process begins. We do some cold maceration around 5 days at 8 degrees, and then we warm it up and allow the fermentation to occur naturally with yeast. Here we look for more extraction. We are looking for a little more body in this part of the fermentation, depending on the variety also, because here we make Merlot. Usually about 5 or 6 vats of Merlot and Cabernet, and all the rest is Carmenere. We use temperatures of 28 to 30 degrees and extraction mainly by manual battenage and some remontage in the middle of fermentation.
Now we are in the room of barriques, where you age the wine. You have a rather peculiar process. You always use gravity. We have been going down floor by floor.
Well, after fermentation, we transfer the wine directly by gravity. The wine arrives to these French oak barriques, 85% new and 15% of barrels that have already made a wine in the past, and spends a year here. Here it does the malolactic. We work a lot with the lees, and after a year, we do a selection. We make a pre-blend, and we see which of these barrels are going to be Clos and which are going to be Petit Clos. At that time, the barrels that go to Clos Apalta go to their second year, which is the room that is downstairs, which is where they spend 1 more year. And the ones that go to Petit Clos, some go also downstairs, and the others can end in foudre. The big difference between those two wines is the different aging programs in wood. Then they see a full second year of aging, so that the wine in total age is around 24 to 26 months in barrique, and is then bottled by gravity down there too, without filtration and without clarification.
There is a peculiar thing with it too, particularly with the Clos Apalta. It is that you take out the vintage, in this case that of 2019, we are in 2023, but you also put out the release of the previous vintage.
Of course, yes, we have a very interesting thing, which is that we want to show the aging potential that the Carmenere and Clos Apalta have in Chile. So we make a release of the Vinotech, which is the family wine bar, where they keep all the verticals since 1997. which is the first harvest of Clos. And normally we get the harvest of the year and also a small production of the little we have from a crop that was released 10 years ago.
Can we visit the Vineyard?
Yes, of course. This is the family wine cellar, where we have approximately 6,000 bottles of all old vintages, which we do release as well. We are going to try one of these later. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
You have to go down to the depths of Apalta. Floor of the wine cellar, and here is the first vintage of Clos, which is from 1997, which is almost pure Carmenere. Here we only have 96 bottles.
96, well, so we will leave those there. Or someone will cut our arm off.